Have you ever heard someone say, "It's not my fault, I just have an addictive personality"? Or, "The reason why I can't stop doing that is because I'm an addict"? Well, I'm Todd Goodwin, and I want to tell you that both of those statements are BS. And there's a good reason. Those are labels. The term addict, the term addictive personality especially. And I don't believe there is such a thing as an addictive personality. I've worked with over 1,000 people over the last 10 years who have had a variety of addictions, emotionally compulsive habits or behaviors. And what I've found is that the belief that the person has some flawed personality type or that they're just an addict, sometimes that's enough to keep them stuck in that behavior. Now, there may be other factors going on for sure. It's just that it's important that we understand that the term addictive personality is really a cop-out. When we believe a label that by definition disempowers us, it limits our ability to change that. Now, what is an addictive personality, or what's really going on there? Well, first of all, it's not a personality at all, and it's not a personality type. What's really happening with someone who is subject to multiple addictions or compulsions, like a typical client I might see who has an issue with drinking too much alcohol and probably overeating as well. They may also find that they tend to be in certain relationships where they have trouble breaking up with that person. And of course, if you add to that the compulsion of smoking, well then clearly you could label them an addictive personality because they have all of these different areas of their life where they are demonstrating addictive tendencies. But what's really going on? Well, it's not the personality. If you show me an addicted person or someone who fits into one of those patterns where they have an emotional compulsion, I will show you an unfulfilled or unhappy person. In fact, I'd be willing to say that there is not one person who has an addiction who's truly fulfilled and happy in their life. Taking it a step further, I would say that only when we are unfulfilled in some important part of our life, especially in relationships or in our work or career, only when we are unfulfilled are we actually subject to potentially becoming addicted or attached to something in terms of a compulsion. If you are truly fulfilled and inspired in your life, then those types of behaviors don't stick. And those self-destructive, unhealthy patterns that a lot of people are in will not affect you. And there's a good reason for that. When someone is addicted to something, what's really going on is that they've given their power away unconsciously to that particular behavior or substance or person because on some level they believe they're missing something. And they don't believe that they're able to feel good or be funny or be liked by other people or be happy unless they have that particular thing or unless they do that particular thing. A classic example is someone who feels like he needs to have an alcoholic beverage when he's socializing. Well, he might say, I need to drink because I need that in order to feel comfortable talking to people. Or I'm just funnier when I've had 2 or 3 drinks and I feel awkward when I don't. Now, I'm not disputing that the person may feel awkward without drinking, but it's partly because he has a belief that he needs it in order to fit in or to socialize effectively. And so what's really happening in these cases is that despite our logical conscious mind telling us, you don't need to drink, you don't need to smoke, step away from the dessert, our subconscious mind, which is the part of the mind that I work with as a hypnotist, that is the very powerful, emotional, and irrational part of us. That's the part that governs our habits and our beliefs and our imagination. So if you were to believe that you need to drink in order to feel good or to relax, or that the only way for you to blow off steam at the end of the day and relax, reduce stress, is to drink alcohol, then that feeling, that need, that desire is going to come from that belief. Believing you need something will encourage you to feel like you want it. And then, of course, the only way to remove the uncomfortable feeling of wanting something and not having it is to have it. Now, the real solution is to change that underlying belief system and emotional habits so there is no desire and there's no perceived need for that unhealthy behavior or substance. And that's where hypnosis comes in, because that's the state of mind in which we're able to change our subconscious belief system and our perspective and our perceptions of things more easily than we can just by analyzing them. And analysis and willpower are fairly weak friends when it comes to trying to overcome a habit. So when you have someone who has an addictive personality, or so they say, what's really happening is that particular person has managed to give away their power to many different areas. In other words, just smoking is not enough to alleviate their emotional discomfort in life. They need to also overeat or drink or have these sticky, unhealthy relationships that they can't seem to break free from. So when you have someone who is unfulfilled, they're generally going to feel low in their life. In other words, not depressed necessarily, but just feeling below the line. And if with that unhappiness or that lack of fulfillment in one or more parts of their life, they're looking for quick fixes, ways to temporarily make themselves feel better. And that's what the subconscious is designed to do. It's short-term focused and oriented to help you get out of discomfort and feel better than you were a few minutes before. It doesn't matter whether drinking excessively, gambling, smoking, overeating are all very bad for your long-term well-being, because if they help you over the next 5 or 10 minutes forget about your problems or distract yourself from your unhappiness, that works pretty well. And it's enough to maintain that habit. So the solution very often for people who claim they have an emotional dependency on something, and who really do, and it's also important for those who say, well, I just am an addictive personality. The solution, in some cases this is all that's necessary, and in other cases this is part of it, is to change the perspective of that individual so that you're no longer unfulfilled. And this can come from a lot of different approaches that we can take to change the level of fulfillment. But if you can go from being unfulfilled in certain parts of your life to feeling more empowered and inspired by your existence, then suddenly you don't need to get high because you're not feeling so low. You're able to feel better in general, and the quick fix that junk food or alcohol or a behavior like smoking or gambling, the quick fix that offers doesn't give you much of an advantage, if anything. And so they're no longer appealing. Once that happens, the addiction cycle is broken. Now, does that mean your personality has changed? No. It just means your beliefs have changed. You realize you don't need those things. And so you feel relaxed without doing them. And what you thought was pleasure when engaging in those compulsive behaviors, you realize was just a temporary lessening of the uncomfortable feeling. When the uncomfortable feeling is mostly gone, or consistently you're feeling better in general, you wouldn't seek out a quick fix. And that's why when you are truly fulfilled in your life, you enjoy the work you're doing, you're pleased with your relationship and other things in your life, then it doesn't matter how good that cheesecake may taste. It doesn't matter how tempting a game of blackjack might be. It doesn't matter how many times people offer you a cigarette or a glass of wine. You will not become addicted, and you will not form an emotionally compulsive habit there. So that's one of the keys to becoming addiction-proof, is becoming truly fulfilled and inspired in your life. And once that happens, then you're empowered enough to take control of your life as much as you can, and you're no longer going to tell yourself that you're an addictive personality.